areas of eye research. We have 47 PIs. PIs are principal investigators. These are people who have got competitive peer review grants, which means that the grants are sent to international review panels, and then they review it. It comes back to a local review panel, and then you have to clear these people before you get the grant. So your science has to be very exact and impactful in order to secure these grants. And then we have 18 clinician scientists. These are clinicians who have formally graduated as clinicians, and then they embark on research. And the reason why clinician scientists are very important is because they serve as the link between the clinicians and the scientists. So the scientists work in the labs, and they may not have the whole perspective of what is the actual clinical need. And the clinicians working in the clinics, they don't really know how, or maybe they may not be as aware about how research is done. So the clinician scientists are people who do clinical work, but also spend a significant amount of their time between typically about 50 to 80% of their, 50 to about 70% of their time in research. So they still see patients, but they spend more time on research. And so they serve as the link. So in terms of clinician scientists, typically they have MD, PhDs. So they have their medical degree, and they also have PhD, which is their science degree or the research degree that helps them to understand the mechanics of research. And we also have 24 PhD scientists. So these are the basic science who does the more of the basic science translational work in SERI. The thing about SERI is that although our annual budget is about 35 million a year, 85% of them come from grants, which means that we don't really have much core funding, and we really have to make sure that the research we do is very robust, because if we don't get the grants, we basically cannot survive, because all the money comes from the grants, majority of it. So in terms of our work, it's always been translational research, because our aim of doing research is not so we get lots of papers or grants. Of course, these are important things, but at the end of the day, ultimate objective of our research is always we want to have real outcomes that can improve the patient's eye care delivery. So our main aim is we do research so that we can improve the lives of our patients. So everything has to be very translational. That means whatever we do in the labs must be able to translate into something, a proper clinical care that can improve the eye care of the patient. So that's the mindset that we have. And therefore, and the other thing about the research we do here is we try to work on eye diseases that are very relevant to Asia. For example, one good example is, everybody has glaucoma, but in Asia, especially in Singapore, China, and some of the Asian countries, we have this particular type of glaucoma called angle closure glaucoma. Now that is not common in the West. The West, they have the open angle glaucoma. So what we find is, in the West, when they do medication, when they do treatments, it's always for their people, which is the open angle glaucoma, but it doesn't help people in Asia. So we try to focus on diseases that are more prevalent in Asia, and that is the other mandate for the research done in SERI. In terms of our achievements, I think over 2 decades, we are about 20 years old this year, we have done pretty well. We are ranked second globally and first in Asia for the quantity and quality of our research. Over the last 2 decades, we have actually built very strong and robust platforms, and you realize that whatever we do, it is for tangible outcomes. We want to be able to develop outcomes that have a clinical application, that means can treat the patient, and that has economic return on investment. So whatever money that the government puts into supporting our research, we want to be able to translate it to something that brings back the money, either via licensing or by spin-off companies, or selling the devices, diagnostic kits, for example. So our platform itself, we have everything from basic sciences. So you know when you do research, first you start off in the lab, right? What is the research question? I go to the lab first. After which I get something, right? But I can't test it on humans first. So we have an animal facility. We test it on animals, and we have different types of animals, from small animals to the big non-human primates, which are monkeys basically. So we test from that. So it depends on the different types of research we do. We have to test on different types of animals. So we have the mice, the rabbits, and the monkeys. So they have many different types of animals. And then after which, ready to test on humans, we go to the clinical research platform, which is a research clinic that is dedicated for research patients. So it looks like a normal private clinic, but it only sees research patients, and that you will see later. And then after that, there's the population health. This is the health service research, where you look at the current service, the provision of healthcare service, and you look at areas where it can be tweaked so that you can have more productive and better outcomes. So it's the actual service delivery itself. That's health service research. And of course statistics. And then the last but not least, which is quite a new platform, is the technology development and commercialization. This platform was developed because we have research that has reached, which is very downstream, which has reached commercialization. So we can license out the technologies. When you license out the technologies, what happens is more people have access to that particular device or technology, so that you can actually help more people in terms of improving eye care delivery. Okay, in terms of governance structure, we have the Executive Director, Professor Ong Tin, and then we have 5 main platforms: the Admin Research Support Services, which is my platform, and then we basically take care of the admin and operations of SERI. Then we have the Technology Development and Commercialization platform, which I mentioned just now. Then we have the Basic Science platform, the Clinical Research, and the Population Health. And under them, you have research groups and research platforms. Platforms provide support services. Research groups are the ones applying for grants, and the success of the research group would depend on the impact of their research, because if their research is very impactful, they get more grants, they grow their group. If their research not so impactful, they don't have any more grants, they have to actually collapse their group. So it's very dependent on the success of their research. In terms of the other thing that we like to talk about SERI is that while we may be small, but we are well known enough to attract talents from all over the world. So you can see there's Malaysia, there's India, there's US, UK, Mauritius, all over the world, Korea, and China, everywhere. So we like to encourage people to come to us, because we always feel that talent actually helps to create diversity and allows for better cross-fertilization of ideas, which brings about better research. In terms of this is the clinical faculty, so these are the doctors in SNEC. Some of them have got larger research roles. So you can see the person sitting third from the left, that's Professor Ong Tin, who's the Executive Director of SERI. Next to him, fourth from the left, is Professor Wong Ten Yen, who used to be the Executive Director of SERI and is now the Medical Director of the Singapore National Eye Centre. And these two people are also clinician scientists, so they do about almost 70% of research. In terms of research groups, so we have many research groups, very diverse areas of research. So we have like things like bioengineering and devices, we have retina, we have myopia. So very, and each of them has a research head. Some of them have dual heads. Some of them are clinician scientists, some of them are clinician investigators. Clinician investigators basically means that they do about less than 30% of research. So not much of research, but they still do a bit of research, mostly clinical trials. So then these are the research groups. Okay, in terms of what we aim for is not to compete internally within Singapore, but we always like to consider ourselves world class. So we don't intend, our aim is not to just do well here, but to do well in the world, because what we feel is the more impactful our research is, the better it is for our people in Asia. So and this paper was done. This paper was by an independent. It's an independent paper by a research group from France. And what they did was they looked at impact factor of papers over a period of almost 5 years, I think. And they found that they found was that Singapore actually ranked second in the world in terms of the quality of papers, and this is based on the main 5-year impact factor. And in terms of GDP as well, for a 5-year impact factor, we were ranked second per capita. Of course, our population is small, so that is one factor. But the fact of the matter is, in terms of quality, which is more important, right? Because it's not about the quantity, but it's a quality, because the quality of paper denotes better quality research as well. And like I said, we always strive to be world class, and so this is an independent US-based entity that provides objective peer review comparison. And for corneal endothelial area of research, Professor George Mehta, who's SERI faculty, is ranked as number 5, and Singapore is ranked as number 4 in the world for expertise in this area of research. And then Professor Wong Tian, I mentioned him just now. He's ranked number 1 in the world for expertise in retinal diseases. And Professor Ong Tin, who's the executive director of SERI, you can see that he's ranked as number 1 in the world for angle closure glaucoma. Again, like I mentioned, this is glaucoma that is endemic in Asia. So he's number 1 in the world, and Singapore is ranked as number 1 because we really focus on these diseases. So this is another paper that was published by German, was it German or British? Can't remember, where they said that Singapore published most papers per capita, and of which 95% of these papers actually come from SERI. So yeah, and this is just our vision. It's important to have a vision, and the vision has to be really high up there, because if you have a mediocre vision, then you only get to there. So it's this is when Wong Tian was the executive director, he told us we want to be the top 5. Whether we get there or not is one thing, but when you have a very high level vision, then everybody feels compelled to do better because our benchmark is so high up there. So I think that's very important. Whatever you do in life, your benchmark should be really high up, so that you may not reach there, or maybe you might reach there over 10 years, but the point is, if it's so high up there, you will only do your best, you see. So I think that's very important. In terms of collaboration, the SERI has also a national role. So we believe that we should collaborate, because first, collaboration, like I mentioned, it helps to there's a lot of cross-fertilization of ideas, and diversity only helps to make research more robust. That's one thing. And also because we feel that it is our responsibility, because we have had the privilege of getting the grants and building up a facility, so it's important that we share that expertise for the better good of the people, because at the end of the day, when you do good research, you help your people, and that's important for us. So we have a big resource, but we share it. Our resource is open to anybody across Singapore who wants to do research in eye diseases. So of course, this also creates opportunities for collaborative research partnerships, and like I mentioned, cross-fertilization of ideas. So in terms of our international and industry collaboration, we basically collaborate with everybody under the sun. So you see, under academic collaborations, right, it's all over the world, and we also collaborate quite a bit with actually, because the eye department there is quite strong, and also with USM. UKM, not so much, but of course now we are open to the opportunities. And Tun Hussein Eye Hospital, they visited us late last year, and they are looking at some collaboration as well. So we are open to collaboration, and obviously we are very open to Asian partnerships. And then of course industry, we work with a lot of industry partners, because we feel that industry actually helps to enrich our research, because they have certain capacity and capabilities that we don't. So we learn a lot through industry collaborations as well. In terms of talent development now, this is very important. like I mentioned, clinician scientists, we believe that they are integral as drivers of research because they are the link between the clinicians. So what happens is the clinician is in the clinic and he's very busy and he says, this is an unmet clinical need. How do I make this treatment better for the patient? And then, but he doesn't have the ability to do something about it. So he speaks to the clinician scientist. The clinician scientist brings the research question to the researcher. Then the basic scientist comes up with a solution that meets that clinical need. So that way you have a research. It's not like the scientist do his own work and then he find out something that nobody has a use for. So this way, the question comes from the doctor asking, okay, I want to treat this patient better, but I don't know how. And then the clinician, the researcher actually comes up with a solution that answers that need. So that way it's very translational and there's no wastage of resources in doing research that is of no value add. So, we work very hard to train clinician scientists, and there's the various awards for clinician scientists. So these awards actually allow, for example, the STAR Award is given by the national funding body, and it allows a clinician 80% protected time. So the funding body will pay the institution 80% of the clinician salary so that he doesn't have to see patients, he can do research. So like CSA, it's between 70% to 50% of their time. For example, senior can be up to 70%, and it goes down to about 50%. And TA awardees are a bit below that. So these are the young clinicians, scientists. Before they go to CSA, the first step is the TA award. So we see the importance of this as an integral source of our success in research. And we also believe that it is not only today, we must always look to the future. So we must constantly strive to build a new pipeline of clinician scientists, because I can tell you it's not easy for ophthalmology. Ophthalmology is a very lucrative business, and ophthalmologists get better money working in the private sector because they do like 5 LASIKs and they don't have to work anymore for that day because it's really expensive. So it's two things that we have to worry about is one, to keep them in the public sector where they may not get as much pay as if they were private, and secondly, to ensure that there's a small group of them that is still interested in doing research, because otherwise our research will fail. So these are the challenges that we face. So as you know, our research is translational outcomes, and of course publication is one way to gauge. And what we are pleased to see is that our publications have gone up over the years. And what's important is, if you look at the darker blue, is the impact factor, which is more than 3.5. Our publications generally don't have very high impact factor, to be very honest. So more than 3.5 is considered good enough. And it's about the quality of the research rather than the quantity. So we see an increase in quality, and that's very important as well. So this was a comparison that we did between for a few year period, looking at the output just based on ophthalmology. So we did a Web of Science search based on we filtered it based on ophthalmology, and we came up with this. So we see ourselves as quite competitive. If you look at Asia, some of the bigger universities like Tokyo, Kyoto,